The world of English football holds its breath, waiting for a verdict on Manchester City's alleged financial breaches. Months have passed, but the silence from Premier League headquarters only fuels speculation and frustration. The delay has become a story itself, casting a shadow over the league's integrity and leaving fans to wonder if a resolution will ever come. Behind the scenes, a separate legal battle has paralysed the process, turning the Premier League's own rules against itself. Manchester City's legal challenge to the Premier League's associated party transaction rules was dismissed as a sideshow, until they won. The tribunal's verdict demolished a key pillar of the league's financial rulebook, exposing fatal inconsistencies and thrusting the case into the spotlight. Now the entire Premier League faces an unprecedented crisis. The Premier League faces a crisis of its own making. Clubs that pushed for stricter financial rules now find themselves trapped by the very system they built. The APT ruling has exposed widespread vulnerabilities, threatening chaos, points deductions, and legal battle. The league's credibility and future hang in the balance. In December 2021, the Premier League introduced associated party transaction rules to ensure fair sponsorship deals and prevent clubs from gaining unfair advantages. Manchester City saw these rules as targeted and discriminatory, arguing they were designed to protect the established elite. Instead of complying, City launched a bold legal challenge, questioning the very legality of the rules and threatening the league's regulatory structure. Manchester City's legal team exposed a glaring flaw in the Premier League's rules. Sponsorship deals faced intense scrutiny, but interest-free shareholder loans did not. This inconsistency, they argued, undermined the entire regulatory framework, creating a loophole that was both illogical and discriminatory. The tribunal agreed. The rules were not just inconsistent, but fundamentally unfair. In October 2024, an independent tribunal delivered a bombshell verdict. The Premier League's APT rules were unlawful and discriminatory. Manchester City's victory was total, exposing deep flaws in the league's governance and leaving its regulatory authority in tatters. The league's credibility was shattered and its future now hangs in the balance. The tribunal's decision sent shockwaves through the Premier League, exposing widespread use of shareholder loans and sparking panic. Clubs rushed to change the rules, but only for the future, desperate to avoid a flood of past breaches. Manchester City, emboldened, demanded the ruling apply retrospectively, igniting a new legal war and shifting the league's balance of power. Manchester City's tribunal victory didn't just protect them, it shone a harsh spotlight on the finances of other Premier League clubs. Suddenly, shareholder loans had to be valued at market rates, exposing years of hidden financial risks. Arsenal, Chelsea, Everton, Brighton and more now face scrutiny, with the Premier League confronting a crisis of legitimacy and fairness. Arsenal, long seen as a model of financial prudence, now faces irony. Their resurgence was fueled by £324 million in interest-free loans from Kroenke Sports and Entertainment, loans that, if properly accounted for, could breach league rules. The club that championed stricter regulations now risks being undone by the very system it helped create. Chelsea and Everton have relied on huge owner loans to stay competitive, but new Premier League rules threaten their financial survival. With hundreds of millions in interest-free loans, both clubs now face devastating penalties. The APT ruling exposes the risk of debt-fueled ambition, leaving their futures uncertain and the league's regulatory failures clear. The fallout from the APT ruling extends far beyond the high-profile cases of London's big spenders and Merseyside strugglers. The regulatory net has been cast wide, ensnaring a diverse group of clubs whose financial models, in different ways, relied on the now outlawed loophole. Brighton and Hove Albion, often lauded as a model of shrewd management and sustainable success, presents a particularly complex case. Owner Tony Bloom has funded the club's remarkable rise with £373 million in interest-free loans, a testament to his personal commitment but now a source of significant regulatory risk that could undermine their entire project. The list of implicated clubs continues with Leicester City and Bournemouth, both of whom have utilised substantial owner loans to fuel their ambitions and compete in the top flight. Even Liverpool, a club that prides itself on a self-sustaining smart spending model, has £71 million in shareholder loans on its books from Fenway Sports Group. While a smaller figure, it is not insignificant and demonstrates how widespread the practice has become, even among the established elite. Each of these clubs now faces a painful re-examination of its accounts, with the potential for PSR breaches and subsequent sanctions depending on the specifics of their financial history. Perhaps the most glaring case of regulatory inconsistency, however, concerns Manchester United. The club managed to avoid any PSR charges despite recording losses of £312.9 million over a 3-year period, nearly 3 times the permitted limit. They achieved this by leveraging a series of exceptional allowances for COVID-19, sponsorship deal collapse, and Ratcliffe's ownership costs, deductions that were coincidentally dismissed as mitigating factors for Everton during their own PSR hearings. This disparity in treatment highlights the arbitrary and politically convenient nature of the league's enforcement. A key point in City's successful discrimination argument, this wide array of affected clubs, each with its unique financial story, collectively demonstrates the systemic nature of the problem. The issue is not 1 or 2 rogue actors, but a league-wide culture of reliance on a financial mechanism that was fundamentally incompatible with the stated principles of fair play. From the celebrated model of Brighton to the establishment power of Manchester United, the APT ruling has exposed a shared vulnerability. The hunters, who long sought to constrain their rivals, have discovered they are now the hunted, caught in a regulatory trap of their own making. The Premier League's approach to financial breaches is now defined by points deductions. Everton and Nottingham Forest set the precedent. Everton docked 10 points, later reduced, Forest 4, all for breaching profitability and sustainability rules. The punishment is mathematical points per £1 million breached. Everton's final rate, about 0.22 points per million, Forest's 0.12. The message is clear: break the rules, lose points, with the scale of the breach dictating the penalty. Now 8 clubs face the same storm, with the APT ruling turning shareholder loans into potential breaches overnight. The question isn't if there will be punishment, but how severe. The league's new reality: punishment is a numbers game, not a negotiation. These precedents mean enormous penalties can be calculated in cold, hard numbers. The fate of clubs and the league table hangs on the maths. Let's apply the formula. Loan size, market interest, 8%. Years of benefit compared to PSR limits, then points per million breached. Arsenal, £324 million in loans, a £25.9 million annual benefit, 7 years, over £181 million in unfair advantage, equating to nearly 40 points deducted. Everton, £451 million in loans, that's a £36.1 million benefit, 7 years, over 55 points at risk. Chelsea, Brighton, Leicester, Bournemouth, Wolves and Liverpool all face similar calculations, with deductions ranging from 17 to 46 points. In total, the 8 clubs could lose 240 plus points, enough to relegate half the league. These aren't hypotheticals, they follow the league's own precedent. The only question: will the Premier League enforce its rules consistently? The maths is inescapable. If the rules are applied, mass deductions are inevitable. For the first time, regulation is pure arithmetic. The numbers alone could reshape English football. Timing is as explosive as the numbers. Can all these cases be concluded at the same time? If not, who gets assessed first? Do you punish all 8 clubs at once and distort the league in one season? Do you spread sanctions over years, destabilizing the league and its finances? Whatever you do, the league faces legal challenges and a public backlash. Consistency is key. Treat all clubs the same or face discrimination claims. The league is trapped. Any choice risks disaster. Doing nothing isn't an option. The crisis is here. The APT ruling forces a reckoning. Shock the system now or erode it slowly. The timing of punishment could decide the league's survival. The fallout is about when, not just how much. Manchester City's fate is now bound to how the league treats everyone else. If City is punished harshly while others get leniency, City will claim unfair treatment. Sanctions must be proportional and consistent, or they'll be challenged in court. If Arsenal's deduction is spread over years, City will demand the same. Immediate, all-at-once punishment for all would cause chaos, relegating top clubs and shaking global confidence. Every decision risks years of litigation and claims of discrimination. The league's attempt at order has created a legal minefield. City's case is stalled. The league can't move until it decides on the others. The proportionality principle meant for fairness now traps the league in a no-win scenario. There is no easy escape from this regulatory straitjacket. The consequences go far beyond the clubs involved. Enforcing deductions would rewrite the league table. Champions stripped, clubs relegated, European spots reshuffled. The financial impact would devastate clubs and commercial partners. Legal claims from clubs missing out on Europe or suffering relegation could reach billions. Bankruptcy is a real risk if compensation claims follow the punishment maths. The league's credibility would be shattered, its history erased by retrospective sanctions. International partners would question future investment. The Premier League could become a cautionary tale in regulatory failure. Years of inconsistent enforcement have led to this brink. The next move will shape the future of English football. Points deductions are just the start. The real threat is compensation claims. Every financial breach implies an unfair sporting advantage, opening the door to litigation. If a club broke rules to fund success, rivals can claim damages for lost opportunities. Better players, higher wages, improved facilities, all translate to better results and higher league finishes. For every club that gained, another lost out, missing Europe, suffering relegation or losing prize money. Arsenal's interest-free loans, for example, taint their league finishes and open them to claims from clubs below them. This applies to all 8 clubs, multiplying the risk. The Premier League's own rules and past cases like Sheffield United v West Ham set the precedent. The APT ruling has made mass claims possible, threatening the league's stability. The compensation catastrophe is now an immediate logical consequence. The financial cost of compensation claims could reach billions, threatening the league's solvency. Every league position has a monetary value. Missing out on Champions League or suffering relegation costs tens to hundreds of millions. Relegation alone can cost a club up to £200 million in lost revenue. Multiply this across seasons and clubs, and liability could surpass £1 billion just from relegation claims. Even small shifts in league position mean millions lost in prize money. With 8 clubs implicated over 7 seasons, the number of affected clubs and claims is vast. Conservative estimates put total liability at £1.6 to £2.3 billion, enough to bankrupt the league. The Premier League itself would be a defendant alongside the clubs. This is a doomsday scenario triggered by a single legal ruling. The numbers now threaten to bring down the entire structure of English football. Financial wrongdoing at the top of English football ripples through the entire pyramid, affecting clubs at every level. From missed promotions to unfair relegations, and even European rivals denied opportunities, the web of claimants is vast. The Premier League faces a legal and financial battle on too many fronts to win. The Premier League is trapped in a legal maze. Every path leads to disaster. Punishing City or ignoring other breaches risks lawsuits, chaos, and the league's collapse. Sweeping it under the carpet only invites more claims and exposes regulatory failure. Every move is a bad move now. The league faces a checkmate with no escape. The Premier League faces a crisis defined by numbers: £1.5 billion in unlawful loans, 243.8 points in potential deductions, and up to £2.3 billion in compensation claims. These figures reveal a system on the brink where regulatory failure could trigger mass relegations, financial ruin, and the collapse of fair competition. Whereas the mathematics of destruction are undeniable. The Premier League's regulatory crackdown, designed by the traditional elite to curb rivals like Manchester City, has spectacularly backfired. Arsenal, Liverpool and Manchester United now face the same scrutiny they demanded for others. The hunters have become the hunted, caught in a trap of their own making. It's poetic justice, and the irony is devastating. Amidst the chaos and recrimination, it is impossible not to admire the sheer brilliance of Manchester City's legal and strategic response. Facing an existential threat from the 115 charges and a regulatory framework they believed was designed to cripple them, they did not simply defend, they went on the attack. By challenging the legality of the associated party transaction rules, they chose to fight the war on a different front, targeting the philosophical foundations of the entire system, rather than getting bogged down in the specifics of each individual charge. It was a move of breathtaking audacity that has proven to be a strategic masterstroke of the highest order. Their legal argument was elegant in its simplicity and devastating in its effect. By exposing the glaring inconsistency between the treatment of sponsorship deals and shareholder loans, they laid a perfect logical trap from which the Premier League could not escape. They forced the system to confront its own contradictions, revealing that it was not a coherent framework built on legal principle, but a patchwork of politically convenient rules designed to serve the interests of the established order. The tribunal's finding of discrimination was the ultimate vindication of City's position, transforming them from the accused into the accuser. This strategy has effectively neutralized the threat of the 115 charges, at least for now. The Premier League cannot proceed with punishing City for breaching rules that an independent tribunal has declared unlawful and discriminatory, especially when so many other clubs are now implicated in similar or larger breaches. City has successfully tied its own fate to the fate of its biggest rivals. The league cannot punish one without punishing them all, and it cannot punish them all without destroying itself. This has created the regulatory paralysis that has delayed the verdict for months, buying City invaluable time and leverage. In essence, Manchester City has forced the Premier League to look in the mirror, and the reflection is not a pretty one. It is a reflection of inconsistency, hypocrisy, and discriminatory enforcement. The club's masterstroke was not just in winning a legal case, but in exposing the entire regulatory apparatus as unfit for purpose. They have turned the league's greatest weapon against itself, and in doing so have not only protected their own interests, but have also triggered a crisis that could permanently reshape the power dynamics of English football in their favour. As we stand here today, on August the 5th, 2025, the verdict on Manchester City's 115 charges remains shrouded in silence, a testament to the regulatory paralysis that has gripped the Premier League. The delay is no longer a matter of procedural complexity. It is a symptom of an existential crisis. The league is trapped, unable to move forward without triggering a catastrophe and unable to stand still without losing all credibility. What began as a seemingly trivial legal challenge to a technical rule has spiraled into a full-blown meltdown that threatens the very foundations of the world's most successful football league. The aftermath is a complete and utter mess. The Premier League's authority is in tatters. An organisation that once prided itself on decisive governance and its ability to manage a multi-billion-pound global enterprise now appears incompetent, indecisive, and potentially compromised. Its credibility as a regulator has been shattered by a tribunal ruling that found its rules to be unlawful and discriminatory. It faces a litigation tsunami from dozens of aggrieved clubs that could bankrupt its operations and mire it in legal battles for the better part of a decade. The brand, once a symbol of elite sporting excellence, is now tarnished by chaos and controversy. The future of English football regulation is now a giant question mark. Can a system so fundamentally broken be repaired? Or does it need to be torn down and rebuilt from scratch? The APT versus PSR saga has exposed the fact that the current model of self-regulation, driven by the shifting political whims of its member clubs, is no longer sustainable. The inherent conflict of interest, where clubs are both competitors and regulators, has created a system ripe for manipulation and inconsistency. The creation of the government-backed regulator must be fully independent and is absolutely necessary to restore order and fairness. Ultimately, the Premier League cannot survive this level of legal and financial chaos in its current form without external control. Whether Manchester City intended this outcome all along is a matter of speculation, but the result is undeniable. By defending themselves, they have inadvertently or intentionally exposed the rot at the heart of the system. The great irony is that in trying to make an example of Manchester City, the Premier League has made an example of itself. The aftermath is a league in ruins, facing a painful reckoning that will define the future of English football for generations to come.